What a season Gabriel Martinelli has had. 15 league goals, 5-6 assists. He's really come of age, called up into the Brazil team. I mean, he's just really come up heaps and bounds, man. I remember when Arsenal fans said Arteta needs to let him go on loan. And I think when you look at Saliba, where you look at Smith Rowe when he went on loan, where you look at Martinelli, the season that's just gone compared to the previous year, Arteta plays you when you're ready. And he has played, about 36 odd games for Arsenal. I could be wrong. We'll go through the stats in a sec. But he's come of age. He's a key player. He's gone from a young, exciting talent, remains that. But he's one of the first names on the team sheet, people. And he can look back at pride with his season. I think he's developed a tenfold. I think Mikel Arteta famously said Martinelli needs to stop doing everything at 100 miles per hour. He still does that to a degree because that's him as a footballer. He's tenacious, he's infectious, he never he gets kicked and he goes again, but it's about adding other layers. And I think this season he's played with his head up a lot more. His final ball has improved, the variety of his runs has improved, whether that's the third man run, whether that's holding the space, whether that's making the decision for your teammate who has the ball and telling them that you want that ball. His general plays come up heaps and bounds and he looks a bit more polished. Of course, there's still many layers and gears in his game to go, but you can't not help but admire Martinelli. He's one of my favourite players, arguably Arsenal's player of the season. We all know it's Bukayo, but he has that. Now, that ball didn't quite come off to Granit Xhaka, but you can see he's now starting to play with his head up. He knows when to slow things down. And the scary thing is, he's nowhere near where he could be, really and truly. His link-up play is getting better. His speed of thought is getting better. Decisions are getting better. In previous years, that effort you just saw, he might have taken a shot on himself. He's just getting better and better. And when it comes to young players, you need to have patience. And you can't not but have patience for Martinelli. The guy is an absolute wonderful footballer. And it's scary because, you can play on the right, you're probably at home on the left. As you develop, you're probably going to play up front at some point. As you can see in these images, people, or video footage, whatever you want to refer to it as, his final ball's improving a tenfold. He's probably unfortunate not to get more assists than he got last season. And again, I guess next season you need to prove you can get 15 league goals and more, however many you can get in all comps, and probably chipping goals and assists. You need to do more than that. Saka should have scored. But as I was saying, you need to do more than that. It is about how you're affecting the play without scoring. But ultimately, if you're a striker, a winger, a 10, you're going to live or die by assists. So I'm happy to see Bukayo Saka, Martinelli's teammate, has had 2 seasons now getting double figures. Martinelli and Martin Odegaard have arrived the season that's just gone in that regard. So there's several gears to go up. But I mean, how much money has he saved us, in previous years? And some signings under Mikel Arteta haven't worked out, but the vast majority of them have. And for years, Arsenal have made the wrong decisions and we're kind of paying for it, trying to get Pepe and these kind of guys off the wage bill. Not every signing is going to work. But when you look at the fact of we spent 20 odd million on Saliba, 30 odd million, 30 million on Odegaard. Saka's come from the academy. Martinelli was signed for 6 million. It shows that there are gems out there, and better yet, it proves when you develop players, when you have a plan, when you're scouting properly, saving us mega bucks. Martinelli is going to cost Lord knows how much if he was to be sold or if we tried to buy him. The same goes for Saka, Saliba, Martin Odegaard, and probably plenty of other players. Quite fortunate to get an assist there, but he's in them areas, and for me to score goals, you've got to be in goal scoring areas, as silly as it sounds. And I think Saka's gone better at that. Odegaard's now starting to arrive into the box, and obviously Martinelli, and he's a devastating player, really. And for me, it's the mentality, it's the attitude. He's got a willingness to learn. He's very humble. These are the things that take you where talent alone can't just necessarily take you. And that's not just isolated to Martinelli or Arsenal. That goes for everybody, because at some point, talent, coming through an academy, talent will take you to several gears. And once you hit that first team, talent, application, willingness to learn, that is what's going to reach their full potential, not hit the heights they're projected to hit because of things. Martinelli's probably unfortunate that, he doesn't have 16 league goals, because again, against Man United, he never got it. You're not going to get them decisions at Old Trafford with Sir Alex Ferguson in the stands. Allow me, I'm a bit sour about our pre-season game. But as I said, and as you've seen by some of these clips so far, the final ball is coming up a tenfold, and ultimately, that's how you make yourself a more complete player, really. I don't want Martinelli to change. I love the fact that he's tenacious, he's passionate. As a fullback, which I'm a Sunday League fullback, you don't want to play against people like Martinelli. You kick him, he goes again. Now starting to be able to come inside and link up with teammates, starting to hold runs to let other players benefit in certain areas. Obviously, he'll skill you up. The man's Brazilian and that. I think an underrated aspect of him is on the counter-attack. As you can see here, the man's gone, really and truly. You wouldn't want to get in a foot race with him. You wouldn't really want to defend against him. And Also, I would say he's a big game player. He's always up for the big games against City, against Liverpool, against Chelsea, whatever. However he plays, he's up for it. So the mentality's there, really. And everything else will fall into place. And to be fair, he saw Spurs the last 2 times he played them last season. Fortunately for us, he got Romero sent off. And I know the Spurs players weren't happy when he kind of controlled it with his back slash shoulder against them. Lovely player, man. And I think as he gets stronger and develops a bit more physical, like elements of how both of them play, you could kind of loosely maneuver like them, if I'm completely honest with you. And the fact that he's here against Newcastle, did he not make his debut in the Premier League against Newcastle? So it just shows the coming of age, and he's getting stronger and he bounces back. As you know, disappointment after missing the penalty against Sporting, you got to letting that slow him down. As you know, when it comes to young players, injuries can kind of hurt them a lot. And again, as you can see, he's getting stronger, man. That's the main thing, people. You've got to be. That's one thing I like about Saka. You can't just bully him off the ball. As we know, Premier League, I hate to be that guy, but the buzzword is physicality, 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 and his willingness to win fouls. I mean, him, Saka, Jesus, Odegaard, you're going to get kicked really and truly. You're going to get kicked this season, next season, and or other seasons to come, whether you play for Arsenal or elsewhere. It comes with the territory. Look at it. And as you can see, he's starting to play inside a lot more. He's starting to kind of get into central areas more, and sometimes just simply put, probably held onto the ball there too long. As I said, there's still elements, or what do I know? That's Martinelli. Sometimes he just switch and play, really. And this ultimately just makes you a way more complete player. I mean, he can look back with a sense of pride from last season, but now, that was your wild card year. Now there's a degree of expectation. Now I'm expecting you to get double figures. I'm expecting you to get more assists. I'm expecting you to make the difference, because you're one of the, he's a big game player for Arsenal Football Club, and that left wing channel is your spot to lose. He took advantage of Trossard obviously not being at the club last summer, Smith Rowe's injury, and made that left wing his own, really. And that seen him go from being a wild card for club, but also country, in which he ended up on the plane to Brazil. He's more or less started every game he's been available. I think of the games he's played in the Premier League, he started everything but 2. And it's just unfortunate that his season ended somewhat prematurely against Brighton with another injury. But I mean, the man's a mercurial talent. People can say what they want. They're jealous that they ain't got Martinelli. We're finally getting ballers at this team. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to smash the like button. Again, you look at what we're assembling here. There's some good ingredients. We need to keep going. We can't rest on our laurels, but we are really and truly developing something special here. As you can see, Martinelli could probably learn to release the ball a bit better, learn when to play and when not to play. But I like his willingness. It doesn't matter where he is, what country he's playing in, who he's playing against. The man wants to play and make a mark and ultimately, die to win. And it was obviously nice to see him and Saka shine against Liverpool. Again, maybe that was a sign of things to come. I mean, I'm not really impressed with Martinelli against Chelsea. Kante will tell you for free, he always turns up against Chelsea. Or you could ask Trent at Liverpool as well. Really like him. Really, you can see why Ronaldinho, Cafu, Jurgen Klopp, the manager Mikel Arteta, everybody that was part of the the Amazon documentary, the first one, The All or Nothing, they all speak about his talent. And again, it's about the person, willingness to learn, doesn't think he's got an ego and things like that. This is what's going to see you become an even better player. And for me, physically, he's improving, man. Physically, sometimes, since he's been at the club, obviously needed to adapt physically. Still a growing lad. He was kind of easily bundled off the ball. Now he's like a Duracell. He's like a Duracell battery. He just keeps going and going. And for me, starting to play with his head up. He's the perfect refining now. And just getting better and better and going up the gears, because you're not, not a single player at Arsenal Football Club, but the more experienced players are the finished articles. The manager isn't. Zinchenko isn't, Jesus isn't, Odegaard isn't, Vieira isn't, Eddie isn't, Saka isn't, Saliba isn't, Gabriel isn't, so on and so forth. This is the remit we're taking, really and truly. Perfect player, perfect human being to have in your squad. And he's going to be a go-to man in years to come for Arsenal Football Club, much like several of our players, really. You just hope that next season he can chip in, Odegaard can chip in, Saka can chip in, Jesus can stay fit and get closer to 20-plus league goals, and however many goals you want to get in the Champions League and whatnot. Bob is your uncle, if I'm completely honest with you. Again, still needs to polish several elements out of his game. I actually think, despite the fact that he got 15 league goals for us, I think his finishing can improve. Again, against Man United in pre-season, he should have bagged. Man City a few years ago, he basically missed an open goal. And there's been a couple of occasions. You look at Salah and Kane, they're up there for big chances missed, but they're also up there for goals. And that's one thing I like about Martinelli's mentality. He makes a mistake, he goes again. Simple as that, really and truly. And he does love a game against City. He typically does perform against City. It'd be nice if the whole team could perform against City and ultimately we could beat Man City one day. But good things come to those who wait, really. And it's lovely. As you can see, he's popping up in several regions. You know, when Martinelli kind of first was introduced to the first team, a bit like Nketiah, who's also improving, whatever you say about him, he was kind of just fixated on just holding his position. Now he's finding the balance, when to hold your position, when to, this season that's gone, when to let Xhaka make that forward run, when to hold your position so that other players can exploit that space, when to actually dribble, when to actually run into that space, when to come inside and just play simple 1-2s and give and goals. Just adding more variety into your game, ultimately making you that much more unpredictable against your opponent, essentially. As I said, he's not all the way there yet, but the signs are good, man. What a player we have in Martinelli. And as I said, you can criticise the club because for years we've made several good and bad decisions. Martinelli for 6-odd million, Saliba for 30-odd million, Odegaard for 30-odd million, Saka from the academy. That has saved a lot of money for this football club, really. And, you know, Trent's a quality fullback. Would love to have him at Arsenal. You know, his link-up play with Saka down the right would be a problem. But he will tell you Martinelli's a tricky customer. Even Lamptey of Brighton probably tell you about that, if I'm honest with you. Still needs to get his head up a bit more. Still needs to polish his passing. Still needs to know when to dribble. But when you could do what he could do, why not? I mean, Fofana's been getting cooked against Martinelli. You won't be the first, nor will you be the last. So I'm not really going to get on to you for that. What a season he had. I just hope that him and everyone else can have a season or the same season they had or better. Although it's like Martinelli hasn't been missing due to injury, how much far ahead would he be if he never had that big injury? The same kind of goes for Reece Nelson, picks up a little couple knocks here and there and whatnot. And several other players that obviously have picked up knocks. You know, you look at Emil Smith-Rowe, for example, folks. If he could stay fit, everything else falls into place. And we've got some great options. We've got some great competition for spots. You know, this is a good goal because he's pull it in, if I remember correctly, pull it into the right area. Sometimes you'll get a couple 3-4 goals as a club a season just by getting your head down, putting the cross in and doing what needs to be done. And when you look at some of Martinelli's finishing, he's starting to make decisions a lot quicker. When to take it on your left first time, when not to, when to take one touch to take your man away. Great skill there. When to take one touch to take your opponent away. When to take another touch to set yourself, and when to hit it. I mean, the man's he's wavy and he's wavy. Obviously, the shot didn't quite come off, but if you do them skillers there, you have to be allowed to shoot in it. The guy is lovely, and he should have had a goal in that game against United. He got zanged. Really infectious, man. Never stops, man. He's a fighter. As you've seen, he didn't really have the conventional route. He spent time at Corinthians, then went to Otano. You know, he had trials at Barcelona and Man United, and they didn't take him. Fortunately for us, we did. We've missed out on a number of players, but we were fortunate with him, and just shows football's a funny old game, essentially, man. Ultimately, it's a funny old game of opinions, people. It really is. And I mean, he's just a good player. The Leicester game, I think, you know, it was one of the games of our season. We scored some great goals. We conceded some silly goals. You know, not the best of passes there from Martinelli. But as I said, starting to get his head up a lot more, knowing when to play. You know, again, does well in tight spaces there. I mean, you know, we enjoyed ourselves against the Spuds. I mean, who wouldn't really and truly absolutely cook them a new one, people. And again, the balance. He's one of them guys. He shows you a bit of the ball. He makes you think he can nick it. Then he gets his body there and he's gone. Like, the guy can make space out of nowhere, really. Look, as you can see, Fofana, sit down, mate. Trippier, you know what he did to you. Sit down, mate. What a player we got in Martinelli, man. If he can just do what he did last season, or better yet, the season that's just gone, or better, we're really laughing, man. What a talent. So proud he plays for Arsenal Football Club, really. And I mean, referee, look at all these fouls. Look, he's a fighter, people. Absolute fighter. And I'm happy to have him. Don't forget to make sure you're subscribing. You're letting me know your thoughts. And again, I appreciate you lot, people, because we're trying to start to do this analysis thing. What a lovely bit of trickery, man. Again, I would give Saka the player of the season last year, but Martinelli has, you know, Martinez did him dirty. He should have just let his former teammate score there, essentially. You know, he made the right decision there. A bit unfortunate not to, you know, not to score. On another day, he clipped that a bit lower. It clips the post and then goes in, really, essentially. Shout out to all the social media channels that I've used their footage for. And one thing I like about Martinelli, he, you know, if in terms of goal scoring, he's never far from the scene of the crime, whether he scored or been involved or not. And that's something we saw when Unai Emery started blooding him in pre-season. He's always about. Lovely to see for someone who's not the most dominant in the air. He shows a willingness and bravery to put his head there. And as I said, the finishing, people, look, quickly. Quick decisions. You're in good form. When you're making quick decisions, good things happen for you in that regards. Look, late run into the box, made the goal. He's kind of half giving the defender something to think about. The defense, Cash, I believe that ain't done well enough. That's a very underrated finish by Martinelli to kind of get something on that and keep that low. And obviously, again, making the run, quick finish, knows exactly what he wants to do. That's why he got that goal against Liverpool. It's as simple as that, essentially, folks. Lovely pass from the wonder guy, Martin Odegaard, the class Norwegian. And it's another game where Saka and Martinelli both scored. And it's lovely play from all of us, essentially. As you can see, people, Martinelli just... He's like a proud dad, isn't it? Seeing people graduate and that. Look, again, making the runs, making the decision for your teammates. Saka is not going to put that ball into the box if he doesn't have encouragement that ultimately you've made that run and you're there. And it sounds silly, but if you want to score goals, you need to make quicker decisions and you need to get into goal scoring positions. And that is an underrated finish. Very underrated. One of Fabianski. What a guy. Odegaard, that's a lovely pass. And you see me, I want to see more of that next season, you know. Martinelli knew he had to score there. You know the ones there. If you don't score that and you didn't square to Saka, we're vexed at you still. But he's wavy. Maybe a bit fortunate there, but he's calm. And as I said, on the counter-attack against the break of play, run of play better yet, he's amazing. And as you can see here, he let Fabio Vieira get an assist. You don't want to see this. This is one of the scariest sights. Shout out to Emi Martinez for vacating his goal because he helped us there. And we all remember Martinelli famously, you know, with Fabio Vieira did the Dragon Ball Z thing. Lovely, and big up Trossard as well. Again, making the runs, people. Making the runs. Making decisions. Quicker look, opened his body up. Quickly, far post safe. Saka's there just to make sure it goes in. But he said, you know what, I'm not a snake. You have that. Saka's a better man than me, I might have tried to teeth that goal. And again, Saka won the ball there. Martinelli's about. See ya, Pickford. See ya. Little wavy Brazilian celebrations there. Whatever that means. Wavy stuff. Shout out Gabby and Jorginho as well. I know Jorginho plays for Italy. But yeah, you get the point. And again, people, right areas. It's dumb. Shout out Eddie Nketiah as well for the assist. Getting in the area. You don't buy a lottery ticket, you can't win the big one, can you? Lovely from him. And he can look back at this season with pride, really, if I'm completely honest with all of you. And I'm sure you lot are proud as well. Look, another header. Underrated. You know, Robertson should do a lot better. As a fullback, you've got to put Martinelli off. Martinelli's under no pressure there, but I'm an Arsenal fan. I don't care. Shout out to Trossard for standing the ball up. Shout out for Martinelli for getting there, being brave, putting his head there. And I don't think he scored an easier goal than that goal, really. Again, underrated finish, people. Look, right foot to take it inside, set himself and hit it. Martinelli's becoming a cold-hearted killer in front of goal, people. And I hope he can, you know, do this again. Obviously, with young players, it's very volatile because it's not like Martinelli's been doing this for years. He's had his first standout season, but why not? Again, lovely. And one thing I like about him, he loves a little improvised finish. In a nice way, it's scatty, it's scrappy, but you can't help but admire it, really. And, you know, that Anfield game, you know, 2-0 up, bit like West Ham away, was in dreamland for a second there. But it wasn't meant to be. I can't lie. We need to look at that Villa game again, man. That goal again. Look, people, that's difficult, you know. That's a very difficult finish. On another day, that goes over the bar, really and truly, if I'm completely honest with you guys. And if we go back to, a couple of years ago, you can see why Arteta likes Martinelli. This was at the time. I heard a lot of things about Gabby before I joined, and the moment I saw him in training, it was confirmed the things I was told before. I think the way he competes and how brave he is in every decision on that pitch is very unusual for an 18-year-old. Now in his early 20s, he's gone from strength to strength. This was obviously in relation to when we played Chelsea. He competed against one of the best defenders in the league in Azpilicueta, and he's right. And he got at him every time he had the chance. His fighting spirit is incredible. Then he is a threat for a goal every time, which is facts, people. And then he went on to say, that is the risk, not just with him, but with all of us, me included, and the club and the people around him. This was obviously in relation to Martinelli, you know, probably getting injured with the way he plays. But, you know, I don't want Martinelli to change how he plays for anybody, if I'm completely honest with you guys, people. This is what's made him who he is. And you can also see Mikel Arteta has said, you know, he's talking about him becoming so effective. You know, at the time he had 14 goals in 30 appearances. Again, you know, that's a significant upgrade on the 6 he previously got in 2021-22. At the time, Arteta said he's playing more games, that's for sure. He's got another year of experience and huge understanding with his teammates, which is ringing true. And it's the way he approaches every single session, his training, his life. It is to be the best. When that happens, only good outcomes will be in front of him, and I'm not surprised about that. At the time, only Haaland, Kane, Rashford and Tony have had more goals in the league than him this season. And Arteta warned there's more good things to come, which is bad news for the opponents, great news for Arsenal and the fans. The good thing is he still has a lot to improve, which is great. If he starts to believe he's levels and things like that, He's not going to get to where he needs to get to. At the time, people, you know, at some point last season, Saka and Martinelli were the second pair of teammates aged 21 and under to both record 20 plus goal involvements in a single Premier League campaign. That's after Cristiano Ronaldo and Wayne Rooney. Now, both players are going to have to do a lot to have a career like both of them, you know, especially Ronaldo. But if you're mentioned with them two, you're doing all right, are you not? So I can't begrudge. And then you see it, you know, when Martinelli did strike at a time last season against Liverpool, he actually set a record. His goal after 58 seconds was Arsenal's quickest in a Premier League home game since October of 2011, where Van Persie scored against Sunderland within 29 seconds. And it was also the quickest goal Arsenal have ever scored against Liverpool in the Premier League. And he should be the record holder for most goals in the league in a season by a Brazilian. But, you know, unfortunately at Old Trafford, incorrectly was chalked off. He has at this moment in time bagged 23 goals for Arsenal in the Premier League, and he's reached Nicolas Anelka's total for league goals scored, people, while 21 and under. And at the time he was only trailing behind Saka with 27 in his age category overall, which is great because they both play for Arsenal and they both signed new deals. And for me, it's not just the goals and assists, it's everything you do in a Mikel Arteta system. It's the positions you take up when we're playing out from the back, it's how you defend. And the Newcastle game where everyone put in a shift, he won 5 tackles in that game, people, and Saka got 4, which is a personal best for both players in the Premier League game, which shows the progress the two young men are making, people. In relation to, you know, if you were to say individual low moments of last season for Martinelli, it would evidently be his season ending prematurely due to injury and probably the penalty miss against Sporting Lisbon. But, you know, things happen. There'll be good and bad moments in your career again and again and again. And it's again, his attitude, the way he responds. Arteta said at the time, in the aftermath of that game, I asked him yesterday how he was, and he said, I want to be in the team. He takes responsibility, chances, and when you see him running around the next day with that energy, honestly, I wasn't concerned about it. Martinelli himself said it's life. Not every game you are going to score and play well. Of course, I was sad and spent the whole night thinking about that penalty, but it's over. I scored a goal today and we got 3 points. That's the most important thing. And, you know, Martinelli, like the vast majority of our players, there's been times in the season, probably towards the end of last year, around the February period, where I don't quite agree with it, but some Arsenal fans were saying he's dropped off a level and things like that. But there's not a single Arsenal player they don't say that about. Jurgen Klopp rates his thing, really. He said, I would like to talk about potential more than what is at the moment, because for him there's still a long way. We're not getting into Klopp yet. Arteta said, the stature of this club, to give him the key to do that straight away is not fair on him. We have to bring him down. I want him to train with his head down every day, work hard, and slowly he will start to earn the praise if he does what he needs to do every day. But it's not about 1 or 2 days, which is true, people, really and truly. And he shows that Mikel Arteta had an admiration for his talents, but in the last 2 years, he's gone from having an admiration. And he's also the youngest Arsenal player to score an assist against Liverpool in the Premier League, people, which is crazy. And it shows you the progress the young man has made. He's also earned praise from Ronaldinho, which, boy, I don't need to tell you why that's massive. We as Brazilians are very excited about him and his future. It's one thing to have talent, but another at the age of 18 to have the confidence. And as you've seen in the years that have followed, he's gone from strength to strength. He reminds me of Ronaldo. His first season in Europe, he scored 30 goals and people were thinking, who's this 18-year-old Brazilian kid? He wanted the ball, but he would run at players. There was no fear no matter what players or team he was playing against. And I see that similar attitude in Martinelli. He just wants to be on the ball and score goals. Ronaldo went on to be the best in the world, and that can also be the aim of Martinelli. Now, got a long way to go before he's in the same realm as the original Ronaldo, but in isolation, I don't think you can disagree with that statement. When you look at Martinelli's heat map this season, predominantly much more multifunctional, and his overall play is starting to improve a tenfold at this football club, people. Which is lovely stuff. This stat is so good, I had to put it back in again. I won't read it again. In total, he played 36 games, people, starting 34. Minutes per game averaged at about 78%. And obviously, he got 15 league goals. And again, the other metrics are quite good. Big chance miss, I believe that says 6 figures. And as you can see here, simply put, he's starting to get into more goal scoring positions, really. You don't get into them positions, you're not going to score. So shout out to Mikel Arteta. Now, I was a bit mistaken on the Premier League website if this is about the players who have been fouled, how many times these players have been fouled, or how many fouls they've committed. I believe it's fouls committed. And again, As I say, our first attacker in many ways is Ramsdale. He's our goalkeeper, playing out from the back. Our first defender is Jesus, Odegaard, and the left and right men in Martinelli and Saka, whoever's there. Jesus committed 43 fouls. Saka had 43 fouls as well. Martinelli with 39, Partey with 37, and Eddie Nketiah with 30, which tells you how we're trying to disrupt the opposition when we can at the first port of call. Minutes played, it shows you Martinelli. Martinelli ranked 7th for Arsenal players with minutes played. Obviously, you know, he kind of gasses out a bit. We've got more attacking options, so there's going to be a bit of rest, and obviously this has to factor in the fact that he was injured, so it would have probably looked a lot more healthily in his regards. That being said, he probably wouldn't have played more minutes than the people you see in front of him, essentially, because there's probably less time for adaptability. But technically, he's tied with Odegaard for first with 15 league goals, one in front of Saka, who had 14. Jesus, who had an injury hit campaign, managed 11. Xhaka got 7, so we're going to have to replace that in the middle of the park. We've got whatever Mikel Arteta has to say. Eddie Nketiah chipped in with 4. Big Gabriel, our centre-back, got 3, as did Reece Nelson, Thomas Partey, and William Saliba got 2. And you know what? Saliba has a case to say goal of the season. He scored a peach of a goal, was it, against Bournemouth early on in the season last year. Great stuff. As usual, again, I think his assists can improve. I think he can improve in that regards. I think he's unlucky that some of the chances, again, in the footage we saw, that his teammates didn't bag, but that's to go to the next level. You know, you want to see 10 goals, 10 assists minimum from your wide men and better. He did get 5, which is 1 behind Jesus, which is doing all right. 7, 2 in front of Odegaard, who got 7, and Odegaard could do a lot more there. Xhaka got 7 goals, 7 assists. We're going to need to replace that. Trossard and Saka lead the way with 10 and 11 assists, respectively. For Trossard, obviously, how many of those were at Arsenal Football Club? He joined in January. I'm unclear, people. I should have done my research, but nonetheless, moving on. Big chance miss. Again, I don't read too much into it because your strikers should be up there for big chances miss. Kane's up there, Salah's up there, you know, Haaland's up there, but they're also up there for goals. Jesus has had 16 big chances missed. Eddie Nketiah has had 11, which is a bit concerning for Eddie Nketiah because you've basically not played, essentially. Martinelli had 6, if I'm honest. And when you look at dispossessed, now your attacking players play in positions where they've got to take risks, so they're going to lose the ball a bit more, whether they've misplaced the pass or been dispossessed in possession. Martinelli ranks 3rd for 56. Again, Eddie Nketiah, despite hardly playing, he's been dispossessed 20 times. He's missed a lot of big chances. I like Eddie, but I'm just making a point. I think that was something that the statistics showed me that I wouldn't have actually been privy to. Offsides, Martinelli's been offside 8 times. You know, Saka's been offside 9 times. Jesus 16. Again, not going to read too much into that because they're attacking players. It's going to happen, but I do think he could learn to hold his runs just a little bit better, people. Finally, Martinelli himself said, I think we need to prepare ourselves for the worst. We need to prepare ourselves for the best teams, and the whole world is doing that. I think we're ready for a new challenge. It's so important our squad in brackets depth, because we have too many games in the season and it's going to be tough again. We are ready to go, and it's good to have so many options. I can't disagree with what Martinelli has said. Please let me know your thoughts on everything we've discussed. Let me know your thoughts on Martinelli. Check out the rest of the other tactical vids. Don't get away without subscribing, hitting the like button, turning on your notifications. God bless you all. Stay safe, stay blessed. I'm out.